Hi everyone, this is Akshay Nagpal. I hope you all are doing good. And our topic for today is independent directors, as you can see on your screen. And you can expect a great deal of marks from this topic in your upcoming examination. And all right, so on that thought, let's begin. We will be studying this chapter in two parts. First part being from the ICI notes, and the second one in the written notes. Written notes for the topic majorly about who can be independent directors, which contains some conditions and some qualifying limits that a person needs to comply with in order to become an independent director. And for the applicability part and the other portions, which is apart from the qualifying limits, that we will be studying from the ICI notes. All right. So now let's start with the applicability part first, which is contained in section number 149. This whole section is contained in section number 149. All right. So let's not get into the subsections part. So first thing first, number of independent directors, which is talking about applicability part, and there's a table in from which you can easily summarize the whole these 2 points that is mentioned in detail. So the table here is about this. All right. So since if it's a listed public company, remember this is a listed public company, not a listed private company. All right. So if it's a listed public company, then at least one third of the total number of directors should be independent directors. All right. So what does that mean? If the number of directors in a board of directors is you say 10, so all right, so one third of 10 would be 3.33, and it says that at least one third. At least means the higher number. Basically, four directors should be independent director in this case. All right. So for a listed public company, at least one third of the total number of directors should be independent director. And second part being prescribed class of companies. The rule here is Rule 4 of Companies Appointment and Qualification of Directors, Rules 2014. All right. And as per that rule, there are three companies that are prescribed which shall have to have at least two directors as independent directors. All right. So if a company has a paid up share capital of rupees 10 crore or more, that is more than or equal to 10 crore rupees, or have a turnover of more than equals to 100 crore, that is 100 crore rupees, and aggregate of outstanding loans, debentures, and deposits of 50 crore. Please ignore this. This is a mistake by ICI. So here it is more than 50 crore. All right. If it's a unlisted public company, remember that, and either of these criteria is satisfied, then that is if the paid up share capital is more than or equal to 10 crore rupees, if the turnover is more than or equal to 100 crore rupees, or the aggregate outstanding loans, debentures, and deposits is more than 50 crore rupees, then that company shall have to have at least two independent directors in their board composition. All right. And there are some exemptions for this. Exempted class of unlisted public company. For this there is an exemption that if it's a joint venture, or if it's a wholly owned subsidiary of the company, or it's a dormant company, then they don't fall into the rule 4. All right, that is an exemption that is given in rule 4 sub rule 2. All right. uh, I have a question for you. What if it's a listed public company and is a joint venture, or a wholly owned subsidiary, or a dormant company, but it is listed? Then the answer is this provision, that is at least one third of the total number of directors as independent directors, is very much applicable for that. As per rule, it is given in rule, and rule is mentioned for this rule number 4, that is for unlisted public company. If it is an unlisted public company and it's a joint venture, or a wholly owned subsidiary, or a dormant company, then this rule number 4 is not applicable for those companies only, that is unlisted public company. It is specifically mentioned here as well. All right, I hope I made it very clear. Now let's head back to the points that we have missed. We have covered these points. All right. Now it's a point that is requirement of higher number. It basically says that if there is an audit committee, and mind you, audit committee requirements as per rule number as per section number 177 subsection 2, and uh, the requirement for having an independent director in the case of unlisted public company, the limits are same. As per audit committee section, majority of members in audit committee should be more than should be independent director. Majority of the members in audit committee should be independent directors. That means they're simply saying that if there is a conflict, for example, in the case of normal, as per section number 149 subsection 4, as per that applicability, there are 10 directors. 10 directors are in the board of directors, and as per that, that is more than equal to 1/3 of directors should be independent directors. So as per that case, 4 directors should be independent director. But as per section number 177 subsection 2, for example, in case of this, audit committee has also 10 members or 9 members, you can say. All right, so as per section number 177, majority of the members should be independent directors. So 9 का majority कितना हुआ 5. So for rule of harmonious interpretation लगेगा यहाँ पे, and there are going to be 5 directors, 5 independent directors in this case. All right, so that's what this provision is saying, that due to the composition of audit committee, if a public company covered under the above rule is required to appoint a higher number of independent directors, in this case 5, such higher number of directors shall be applicable to it. All right, now let's talking about next concept, which is intermittent vacancy. If there is a vacancy that is happening for the independent director place, then that should be basically filled up by the board within 3 months from that vacancy, or next board meeting, whichever is later. All right, this is same as same as women director provision. All right, so you can relate with that. Now talking about duration of conditions after non-fulfillment of which no appointment required. In this case, the conditions that are required for appointment, basically, that is, first condition can be turnover of more than equal to 100 crore rupees, paid up share capital of more than equal to 10 crore rupees, or outstanding loan, debenture and deposit more than 50 crore rupees. If these conditions do not fulfill for 3 consecutive years, then section number 149 subsection 4 is not applicable. That means if we read it in other way, we can simply conclude that 149 subsection 4, once applicable, it cannot be undone for at least 3 years. All right, so this is the crux of this point, and you can read it from there on. Now there is a clarification that is given. It says that paid up share capital, turnover, or outstanding loans, debentures and deposit are for the last date of latest audited financial statement. All right, so latest audited financial statement, balance sheet will be, financials will be considered in order to view the applicability as per rule number 4. All right, now, so the second point, which is about who can become the independent director, which is given in section number 149 subsection 6, it simply puts out some conditions that few people, which can include the relatives of the independent director, which can include independent director himself. All right, either of these two or in the combination of these two. So if uh, independent director becomes, if a person wants to become an independent director, then he shall have to comply with few conditions, which includes few limits as well. So he will have to comply with all these things in order to become an independent director. So one thing that needs to be remembered is managing director and the whole time director cannot become an independent director, and even a nominee director. Nominee director, why not? Because which is nominee director is very much independent, but it is for a specific purpose, that is to oversee the conditions on which the government or the financial institution has given the loan to the company. All right. So nominee director's purpose is limited to that only. And other thing being managing director and whole time director. These are basically the employees of the company. All right. So employees of the company cannot become an independent director. Remember that. So there are, you can say, 6 conditions, 6 points that you need to remember, and you can expect an MCQ case study on this, or you can also expect a subjective question. But I am very much hopeful that it will come for around 4 to 8 marks in this coming attempt. All right, so let's do this. First point is about subjective thing, that is the person should possess integrity and should possess relevant expertise and experience. What can be the expertise? It is very much subjective for the company. If the company is in the business of FMCG, for example, then for that company, if a director is having an experience in chemical industry, for example, so that won't do any good for that company. The experience should be relevant, possess relevant experience and expertise. All right, so I hope you understood the point. And from second point to sixth point, I have made a particular chart which you can take a PDF. If you want, you can comment down there and I'll be uploading the same to my Telegram channel, or else you can also take a screenshot anytime from the video. All right, so let's start with the second to sixth point, and let me head to the table. Yeah, now let's head to second to fifth point, second to sixth point, which are of utmost importance. And it simply says that if the person is the promoter of the company, holding company, subsidiary company, or associate company, then that person cannot become the independent director. All right, if that person is related to promoter or director of the company, holding company, subsidiary company, or associate company, then that person won't be able to become an independent director. So simply speaking, if a person wants to become an independent director, then he should not be the promoter of the company, or he should not be the relative of promoter or director of the company, holding company, subsidiary company, and associate company. All right, now coming to third point, the person should not have any pecuniary relationship except remuneration with these parties, that is company, subsidiary company, holding company, associate company, or the promoter and director of these companies. All right, no pecuniary relationship except remuneration. Pecuniary relationship means monetary relationship with the company, and if these things does not happen within 2 financial years, with 2 preceding financial year plus current year, then he is good to become an independent director. But as soon as you find out that the person had the pecuniary relationship with within these time limit and with these companies, subsidiary company, holding company, or any of the promoter or director of these companies, then that person won't be able to become an independent director. And same goes with the transaction. If the transaction is up to 10% of the total income of that person, then he won't be able to. If it is up to 10% of the total income, then he will be able to become an independent director. But as soon as the transaction limit goes beyond the 10% with these companies in these years, then he won't be able to become an independent director. All right, now Fourth point. Fourth point is about relatives, and there are 4 points in fourth point. All right. So first point is about holding of securities. If the relatives of the person hold securities in excess of 50 lakh face value or 2% of paid up share capital, or the higher amount if prescribed in these companies, that is company, holding company, subsidiary company or associate company, in these years, that is 2 preceding financial years or the current year, then that person won't be able to become an independent director because of his relatives. Because of his relatives, remember that section number 2 subsection 77, it contains the definition of relatives. You can read that. All right. So because of the relatives, the person won't be able to become an independent director if these relatives hold securities in excess of this limit, that is 50 lakh face value or the 2% of paid up share capital. The fourth B point, that is relatives, again, if they are indebted in excess of rupees 50 lakhs to company, share, subsidiary company, holding company, associate company, or the promoter or director of the company, subsidiary company, holding company, or associate company in these years, then again he won't be able to become an independent director. The person whose relatives are indebted in excess of 50 lakhs to the company, then that person won't be able to become an independent director. Now coming to the third point, which talks about the guarantee. If the person, if the relative has given, if the relative of the person has given any guarantee to the third party in excess of 50 lakh rupees for the loan given to these companies, subsidiary companies, holding companies, or the promoter or director of these companies in the previous financial year or the current financial year, then again that person won't be able to become an independent director. And the 4D point, it talks about if the relatives have any transaction or a pecuniary transaction in excess of 2% of the gross turnover, singly or in combination of other three transactions, then with these companies, then again he won't be able to become an independent director. All right. Now, coming to fifth point, it talks about the person cannot be the KMP or employee of these companies in three previous financial years if he wants to become an independent director. Simply speaking, if the person wants to become an independent director, he should not be the KMP or the employee in the three previous financial years of the company, holding company, subsidiary company, or the associate company. Or if the relative is the KMP of the company, then again he won't be able to become an independent director. All right. 5B, it says that if the person or the relative has been employee, partner, or proprietor of the firm of auditors, CS or CMA of these companies in three previous financial years, then again that person won't be able to become an independent director. And the third 5B contains one more point which talks. In this point, it simply says that if the person or the relative has been the employee of the legal concern or the consulting firm which derives its gross turnover from these companies in excess of more than, in excess or equal to 10% of their turnover in three previous financial year, then again he won't be able to become an independent director. I hope I made myself clear. And fifth C point, it says that person together with his relatives cannot hold 2% of the, cannot hold more than or equal to 2% of the total voting power of the company. Then if he holds the same, then he won't be able to become an independent director. If he does not hold the same, then he can be an independent director. Fifth D point, it talks about the person is should not be the CEO or director of the NPO that receives its 25% or more receipts from the company, promoter, director, holding company, subsidiary company, or associate company, and such other qualification as prescribed. All right, all these conditions should be satisfied in order for independent director, in order for person to become the independent director. All right, now let's head back to study material. and complete our remaining portion. Section number 149 subsection 6 has already been covered, which was the most important one. All right, so you can read it from the table itself, and summarize form is already been given to you. All right, so if you want, you can also go through the study material, and but rest assured, I have already covered all the points in that PDF only. All right, so next point is about section number 149 subsection 7, which was about declaration that is to be given by the independent director, and every independent director shall give a declaration that he meets the criteria of independence given in section number 149 subsection 6, which we have already studied. He should lay that declaration down in these meetings, first at the first meeting of the board in which he participates as a director, and thereafter at every first meeting in every financial year, and whenever there is any change, then also he will have to give the declaration. So the fourth point is about the code for independent directors, which you can easily skip. All right. Next point is about remuneration of independent director. It simply says that section number 197 and section number 198 should be complied with. All right. And the one thing that needs to be taken care of, that remuneration should not include the stock option. Independent directors are not entitled to stock option. They can be entitled to other things, that is section number 197 subsection 5, fees, profits, that are profits related commission, and the reimbursement of expenses, that are okay, but stock option should not be given to independent directors. All right. And next thing about tenure, which is given in section number 149 subsection 10 and 11, it simply says that 5 years term should be there for independent director, and rotation provision are not applicable for them. All right. And if the company wants to increase its term by another 5 years, then they will have to pass a special resolution. And if during the second resolution they want to remove the director, then again a special resolution might be required. A special resolution will be required. All right, let's read this. Term. Subject to the provision of section 152, an independent director shall hold office for a term up to 5 consecutive years on the board of company. Eligibility for reappointment. He shall be eligible for reappointment on passing of a special resolution. I have already mentioned that, by the company, and disclosure of such appointment in the board's report. Section number 134 shall have to be complied. That is, board report provision will be there. And next point is about a note that is according to first proviso to section number 169 subsection 1, an independent director reappointed for second term under section number 149 subsection 10 shall be removed by the company only by passing a special resolution. Again, that I have already said here. All right. So next thing is about limit of holding of office. It simply says that first term can be of 5 years, then another term can be of 5 years, but then the person cannot be reappointed up to the period of 3 years, which is also known as cooling off period. This is what they have mentioned here. An independent director shall not hold office for more than 2 consecutive terms, 5 years, 5 years, and the cooling period for appointment shall be for 3 years. However, during the said period of 3 years, he shall not be appointed in or be associated with the company in any other capacity, either directly or indirectly. That is, this 3 years cooling period will be very strict. All right. Now, note, it is clarified that for the purposes of subsection 10 and 11 of section number 149, any tenure of an independent director on the date of commencement of the Companies Act 2013 shall not be counted as a, this is not relevant for you. Now, appointment of independent director for less than 5 years. This is a clarification part. It says that it is clarified by MCA that section number 149 subsection 10 of the Act provides for a term of up to 5 consecutive years. That is, as soon as they are employed for 5 years, then that term shall be counted as one, even if that term is less than 5 years. You can say if the term is for 3 years, then one term shall be counted, and the second term can be up to 5 years, and then 3 years cooling period will be applicable. All right, so term wise we will see, we will not see the year wise. All right, that's the clarification. And this liability part you can ignore. It simply says that the person who has done acts or omission, and it has been done with the knowledge of the independent director, then they can be held liable. All right, so you can simply ignore that. Retirement rotation, this provision is not applicable for independent director. It simply says that the provision contained in section number 152 subsection 6 and subsection 7 shall not be applicable to the appointment of independent directors. And this point I have already completed with you, that is independent director is different from nominee director and how. All right, because nominee director purpose is different than that of independent director. Now that's all from my side. We have completed independent directors very concisely, and I really hope you score great in your upcoming exams. Today is 5th of July, and it must be your FR paper today if you have appeared, and I hope it went well. And I really hope all your exams go well and you become a chartered accountant in this attempt. All right, with that note, let's end this session and all the very best. Thank you.